Hey, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our Wednesday Ephphatha Bible study. My name is John. I'm the pastor of First United Methodist Church in Mountain City and Trade United Methodist Church in Trade, Tennessee. Well, I'm coming to you live from our campsite here at the Kentucky Horse Park outside of Lexington. We've come up to see our daughter Alexandria for Thanksgiving. But we are practicing our good practices. There's only going to be the four of us, and we've all had our COVID tests, so I think we're okay. But we're in our camper, which I'm really thankful to God for, because we're able to social distance and kind of be away from folks. Kind of a rainy day here at the horse park, but that's okay. We're still on vacation, so hey. And you might can see those lights off in the distance and see those snowflakes. Turns out that the horse park is hosting one of those drive-through Christmas light dealies. So we got to listen to Christmas music, which is kind of nice, actually. All right, let me get this set back down. Okay, cool. So I'm here outside the camper. I've got my camping mug filled with good hot tea. So we're going to study the Bible and enjoy the outdoors and just be thankful for what God has given us. This is an appropriate time of year for that, isn't it, brothers and sisters? I hope you guys are going to have a good Thanksgiving as well. This is going to be a weird holiday season with the coronavirus and everything us having to stay apart, but we're going to do our best to make it as meaningful and as special as we can. And in church, we're going to be talking about Advent. Advent begins this coming Sunday, and ways that we can maintain some of our traditions and some of our celebrations in light of coronavirus. Things will be different this year, but that's okay. And Bob says, hello, good cool afternoon to you. Yes, it is a little chilly, Bob, but that's okay. That's all right. It's that time of the year. I'm glad you're with us. Very much so. I appreciate your faithfulness too. You're always with us, and I appreciate that. So anyway, let's go ahead and dig in. Oh. Drinking Irish breakfast tea. It's my absolute favorite. It's stout tea for a rather chilly afternoon or chilly midday. Okay. When we talked last, we were in Exodus 13, talking about the leaving. And Sharon and Neil are here. They're saying Happy Turkey Day, and they're headed to the beach. We just left the beach. The beach is an awesome place to be. So I'm in favor of beach trips anytime. So I hope you and Neil have a good time. That is an awesome thing. All right. So we're going to pick up in Exodus 13, 17, and this is actually the leaving of Egypt. We've been doing a lot of talking about setting the stage for this, but we're going to actually start the journey through the wilderness now. 13, 17. When Pharaoh let the people go, he did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though it was shorter. For God said, if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the desert road toward the Red Sea. The Israelites went up from Egypt, up out of Egypt, armed for battle. So God is looking ahead. That's what God does. And he's aware that the folks might they might lose heart. And you're all students of the Bible. You know that happens, and that happened repeatedly. But God is trying to make it as easy for the people as he can. And the getting to the destination as quickly as possible isn't as important as maintaining the group, maintaining the nation, maintaining the Israelites. God is not afraid to take the time necessary to accomplish his purposes. God very seldom gets in a rush. And I think that's a good lesson for us, especially when we're living through these times, that God allows time and takes time to accomplish his purposes in the way he wants to do them, rather than just rushing ahead and taking the most direct route. Okay. 19. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, because Joseph had made the sons of Israel swear an oath. He had said, God will surely come to your aid. Then you must carry up my bones up with you from this place. So 400 years. They were in exile 400 some odd years. And Joseph had done well in Egypt. We've talked about that, how he was second only to Pharaoh, how he had gotten power and privilege and used it for God's purposes, even in that foreign even in that foreign land. But he wasn't of that land. He was by the definition an alien in that land, and so he wanted his bones to go with his people. And I think that's a really beautiful statement that Joseph knew his people would be going, that God would hear their cry and would take them out, and he wanted to be with his people in a very real sense. There's a real sense of continuity and belonging in that case, and I think that's beautiful, and I think that still resonates with us today, maybe even especially now as we're trying to deal with coronavirus and deal with isolation and all those things that we have to deal with on our own. So Joseph didn't want his bones left behind as they were going into the promised land and following God. Joseph wanted his bones to go with his people. Okay. 20. After leaving Succoth, they camped at Etham at the edge of the desert. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and at night on a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or by night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people. It's starting to rain some more. We may have to get this a little short, but we'll see. All right, chapter 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi-Haroth, near Migdol and the sea. They are to camp by the sea, directly opposite Baal-Zephon. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So the Israelites did this. So yeah, if you're trying your best to follow God and seem to be wandering around in the desert, maybe aimlessly, we may not understand what's going on, but God usually does. So maybe our wandering isn't really aimless wandering. We're following the path God's laid out for us. And we just talked about how God doesn't hurry and how straight lines don't always serve God's purposes. Okay, 14:5. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about them and said, "What have we done? We have let the Israelites go and have lost their services." So he had his chariot made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots, along with all the other chariots of Egypt, and officials over all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so he pursued the Israelites, who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them by the sea near Pi-Haroth, opposite Baal-Zephon. And we've also talked about how hardening the heart, as a student of the Bible and as somebody who's thought about this and prayed about this a bit, I still don't think that God hardening the heart means that God changed Pharaoh's mind, that God forced Pharaoh to do something he didn't want to do. God always allows us free will. And my thinking is, the way I'm looking at this is that Pharaoh wasn't real happy about it, and he has made that abundantly clear. And God very well may have given him a nudge to let loose his baser instincts, to indulge in what he really wants to do, which is go after and bring those uppity slaves back, and they put them back to work. So he won't lose. So he won't look like a loser, and that his will and his control will be maintained. So I don't think this is a case of God forcing poor old Pharaoh, to do something he didn't want to do. I think it's more a case of God hardening his heart, or loosening his rein so that he goes and does what he really wanted to do. All right, 10. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. And who could blame them? This is the premier empire in the world at this point. And so the cream of its army is coming after these laborers, their families. I mean, yeah, they're men of fighting age, but these are laborers. These aren't trained soldiers. They said to Moses, Okay, let's see. Are we still live? Still says live. Okay, bueno. Okay. Sorry, guys. My phone decided to die unexpectedly. The meter said it had 70 some odd percent. It's been acting a little squirrely. I'll probably be getting a new phone and here in a day or two. So anyway, where were we? We were talking about. I just read the bit. I don't know where the stream cut at the moment. Just read the bit about when the Israelites looked up and saw Pharaoh's army coming, and they turned to turned to Moses and said, "Were there not enough graves in Egypt that you had to bring us out here to die in the wilderness?" And so that theme and that saying reappears several times. That um, the Israelites weren't happy being in Egypt, but it was predictable. They understood what was going on, and they were fed, however begrudgingly and however poorly. They were fed, and they were protected somewhat, not out of love and kindness on the Egyptians' part, but because Egyptians wanted their labor. And so here the Israelites are heading out into the desert. They've doubled back. That's what we read a few verses ago. They've doubled back, and God tells them to basically park it here in the desert. And God said to Moses that the Pharaoh is going to see them and come after them. And so the Israelites aren't real happy about that, and that makes sense to me. But they are there at doing God's purposes, even though they may not understand it. And so when faced with this fear and faced with this uncertain future, they turn to what they know. And suddenly a life of privation and a life of suffering and toil, life of slavery, may not seem too bad. I mean, it is life after all. And seeing Pharaoh's army coming at them, they just see nothing but death and destruction and pain. They don't have the faith. They don't have the faith that God's brought them this far. God is not going to abandon them. That they don't see how it's going to turn out, but God will bring them through. And gee, what a lesson for today. We don't know what's going to turn out, and it may not turn out exactly like we want. God doesn't always promise rainbows, puppy dogs, and happy endings. God does promise God's never failing love and God's presence with us. So we know that whatever befall, God is with us, and that's the ultimate good news, that we're always in God's hand. But the Israelites, when faced with this emergency, when faced with this real danger in front of them, they had a hard time hanging on to those promises. And to give them credit, they didn't have the thousands of years of experience of God that we've had. We've got the witness of Scripture with literally thousands of years of God being patient and faithful with God's people and delivering them from seemingly impossible situations. We have the witness and work of Jesus, and then the ongoing and living work of the Holy Spirit within us, to remind us that we may not understand what's going on, but that God is with us and God is working to bring good. So we can hopefully cut the Israelites some slack, and if we're honest with ourselves, I think we can kind of identify with that. How many times when faced with a danger or an obstacle or something, our faith has wavered. So we need to be encouragers of one another so that we can draw strength. And there it went again. Okay, guys, sorry about that. It looks like my phone is really not going to cooperate. We'll wrap this up now, and hope you guys have a wonderful Turkey Day. And I'll be back in the pulpit on Sunday. Look forward to seeing you then. And until then, be safe, take care of one another, and we'll see you then. Bye.